It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And ladies and gentlemen, this past week, I went to the seedy underworld of mobsters. Yeah, so I went. I'm going to talk about it. But first, couple things. I want to give a big shout out to Columbus, Ohio. Got some plays in Columbus this past week. Gracias, gratitude, Todoba. In Columbus, my homeboy Key lives there, man. Great dude, love that dude. He's in your city hanging out, chilling, exploring the place. Shout out to you, Key. So Columbus, thanks for listening. And additionally, this episode is brought to you by the song called The Plane by the one and only Sun Tzu Cosmic. So if you want to hear crazy, spacey, cosmic rap, I'll put the link below to The Plane. Check it out. Now, let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said at the jump, this past week, I went to the seedy underworld of mobsters. I saw the show called MobLand, starring Tom Hardy as Henry DeSouza. He is a fixer and he fixes problems in this mob tale. So ladies and gentlemen, after watching the first episode, this is a pretty good mob tale set over the UK. Very cool, different thing I haven't seen before. I've seen a lot of gangster stuff that takes place in America, but this one's in the UK. And it's an interesting take. Now, in the first episode, we really got to see Harry DeSouza go around fixing stuff. He did his job, fix stuff. He's a fixer. He fixed tons of stuff. And that's what I'm going to go into today. Seeing this fixer do his job was absolutely magnificent. Now, first, let me say this. He is a seedy underworld criminal. So I don't want to amplify the criminal gangster lifestyle. Probably not the best route to take. You know, some of these people go there because they have no choice. You know, ideally, this is not the kind of position you want to see yourself in. I'm just saying, no judgment. I'm not trying to be preachy, but probably don't want to go that route. Watch this show and see why you don't want to go that route. Now, that being said, I can still recognize the awesomeness of Harry DeSouza. Now, he is in this environment of gangsters, but he's a very skilled man. Now, to be a fixer, you pretty much have to be very skilled. Now, a fixer basically just fixes problems. He's like Vanilla Ice. If you got a problem, yo, I'll solve it, right? Vanilla Ice. Harry DeSouza is basically Vanilla Ice. He just runs around fixing problems. Now, it is interesting to see him fix problems. Calling on the phone, visiting people, talking to people, gathering information. He has a lot of various tasks to fix problems. Now, one additional thing which I thought was cool about the show is that Harry DeSouza is a fixer, and he's in the gangster world. And you can tell he's capable of extreme amounts of violence. You can just tell that he's capable of extreme amounts of violence. He went around talking to people, didn't have to do any violence to solve all the problems with no violence. Now, I believe Tom Hardy has basically mastered Sun Tzu's The Art of War because the ultimate way to win is by no battle at all. The ultimate way to win is by not even having to fight. And basically, Harry DeSouza did that. He fixed the problems without even fighting. Now, what I found interesting about him is he would go around talking to people. He's very good at communicating. You know, he's very good at telling people what he wants and getting it. And he just uses talking, really. And honestly, he didn't yell or get loud at all. He just had a way of speaking that convinced people he was capable of great amounts of violence and he would inflict upon them. I mean, it's pretty much what he was saying. But he said it in such a way that wasn't really aggressive or anything. He just had a way about him that you believed or they believed. Now, I kind of believed. Like when he said something, you just kind of believed it. Right, there was some doubts from one guy and he kind of said more words and I was like, okay, we're good. Right, did a little bit of actions, a little touch in his body and did some words and boom. Like this whole show, he just went around talking to people. In fact, Harry kind of does live how I live, right? Now, let me go ahead and tell you the parallels here. So the way Harry navigates life is that in certain environments, in order to achieve what he's trying to achieve, he has to move and act in certain ways. Now, some people like to say, I'm the same everywhere I go. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm the same all the time. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's good. Be you. Do your thing. Be the same everywhere. It's fine. But in Harry's world, and my world as well, sometimes you have to move in environments, talk to certain people, and you have to maneuver and hold yourself in certain ways to achieve what you need in that environment. And they don't all work for the same environments, right? We see Harry in multiple environments and act multiple different ways to achieve what he's trying to achieve. When he's fixing things, he's one way. When he's talking to his boss, he's another way. You know, when he's talking to his wife and kids, he's another way. He go ahead and evolves to wear the hats that are necessary. That you can tell that Harry's a highly intelligent man. Emotionally intelligent, regular intelligence, strong physically, thinks strategically, right? Problem solver, thinks outside the box. Like, this man could probably be employed in a real Fortune 500 company. Now, in fact, I did do a little research on fixers, and apparently fixers exist in the corporate world as well. They just don't do violence, right? In the mob world, there's a lot of violence. But, you know, actually in this show, there was none yet. So real quick, let's pause real quick. I do have to edit something I said earlier. I said he did no violence. He actually did one act of violence in the beginning of the show. In the beginning of the show, there's a meeting. He did some violence. But other than that, there was like no violence the rest of the show. So basically, it just showed that he would try his best to solve problems with no violence. And if it couldn't, he would bring it there, right? There was like 4 instances, I think, and one he had to get violent. Not bad, but he's really, really good at talking. I just watched him talking. He's really good at communicating. Like, really, I mean, I know he's a bad man. He was a gangster, but he's a kind of a cool guy. But then, I don't know. I think Tom Hardy's just a cool dude. Tom Hardy's just a really cool guy. But anyways, I do find this show interesting already. I find Harry, the fixer, a very interesting character, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the show shows us. I feel that the gangster show we've seen in the past didn't really fixate on the fixer. He show a fixer, you know, how he lives, what's going on. So it should be very interesting to see how the mind of a fixer works. How a fixer lives, what he does in the day-to-day, week-to-week, and how he navigates the life. I think it's a very interesting take to see the life of a fixer. Now, there might be a show or movie where this is done. Now, I think in Pulp Fiction, there's a scene with Harvey Keitel where he's the fixer. There's a small piece of that. But I don't recall seeing fixers that much. No, actually, I take that back. I know Apple has a movie with, I think it's Brad Pitt and George Clooney. And that movie's about fixers, which I haven't seen yet. So I think that's about fixers as well. But just in general, just not seeing a lot of fixers. And it's interesting to see this take. And I can't wait to see what else happens. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see a mob story about a fixer and crime families battling in the UK, this just might be what you need to see. Now, just a forewarning, it's a little violent, a little graphic language. You know, there's a little bit of something going on that might be a little too much for some people. Now, you know, I try not to watch that much, but the cast of this show, Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Tom Hardy, and others, is phenomenal. Great acting. There's something different. You know, I've been watching a lot of military stuff and space stuff and sci-fi stuff and the superhero stuff. It's a nice change of pace. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen MobLand, I highly recommend you go check it out. It feels like it's going to be a good ride. Yes, it really does. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the podcast. And until next time, we'll see. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. C.G. Hung. Till next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks.